Hello, the Healing Spot community. This is Justine Calderwood with the Healing Spot. I'm a physical therapist. Today I'm sharing ways to keep your hips happy so you have some happy hips this summer. So I'm going to start by just talking a little bit about alignment. So one of the first things that I do as a physical therapist to help people that have hip pain is to actually look at the pelvis. So this bony ring here, because it's going to affect the spine, and it's also going to affect how that hip sits into. So when we talk about the hip, I'm really talking about the hip joint. A lot of people refer to their hip as like the back side into their glutes or even their lower back. Okay, so I'm talking about hip pain into the growing, okay, into the hip socket itself. So you might be having pain when you're, say, walking, standing, trying to squat down to get something. You may have pain when you lay on that side. You may have some pain that shoots down the back of the leg, which really, that sciatica can be coming from the lower back. But it's kind of a complex thing. But the first thing that I look at is looking at the pelvic position and the alignment, because the bony ring here can be, it can be slipped up or down. It can be rotated. It can actually be in or out. We call an in flare or out flare, and that's going to affect, what this is doing over here at this joint. So I'm going to go over just some real quick tips for you that you can try if you're suffering from some hip pain, that you can try at home or even at your desk, okay? So like I said, that's one thing that I look at. So what can you do at home? I would really encourage to get this looked at, okay? Because there are ways that you can use, like muscle energy techniques. You can use stretches and strengthening to bring balance back to your body. So just to give you an idea of what you can do at home to try. But I always try to give a disclaimer that just because if this doesn't work for you and you try it, get yourself in the company of a professional so that they can take a look at you as well and offer you some real customized advice, okay? So I'm going to demonstrate 4 stretches that I like to teach my patients, and I don't always give all 4 of these. It just depends on where people are tight at. But in my opinion, bringing flexibility back and that alignment comes before strengthening. Because if you start strengthening muscles and you have this poor posture, poor alignment, you're only going to be getting stronger and keeping that alignment the same, okay? So I like to start with stretches. I'm going to show you 4 stretches today. First, I like to stretch out the hip flexors. So those are the muscles along the front of your hips, okay, so along and through here, and that affects your lower back, okay, if you have tightness in there. So if you sit a lot, if you have long commutes, if you are very sedentary, you may be tight in through your hip flexors. So I'm going to demonstrate how to stretch the right hip flexor. So what you're going to do is just stand, take a step back, okay, and put a little weight down through that right leg, okay, and then you're going to just stand up tall. And what I like to do is bend the knees a little bit and then bring the hips forward some, keeping the foot planted. So that heel should stay on the ground. You shouldn't be lifting it up. It really should stay planted. And what you're going to do is just kind of lunge forward a little bit. And you can have something sturdy close by, like a chair or even a wall, that you can hang on to. And then what I like to do is just kind of lift up through there, and you can even bring that same side, the arm up and over, kind of at a diagonal, so that you can really open up through that hip flexor. There's other ways to stretch the hip flexors. I'm going to go over these stretches today all in standing. Ideally, you want to hold for 3 to 5 minutes, so you really get into those fascial, the fascial components, and not just trying to change the muscular component, okay? So that soft tissue, that fascia, that's really what we want to change to make more permanent changes in the body, okay? So that's hip flexor stretch, all right? Of course, you can do that on the other side and come forward. Another great stretch that I like to teach people is a hamstring stretch. So what you can do is put your foot up. Table works well, countertop depends on how flexible you already are, even a lower step stool or step or a chair, okay? But I'm going to use my table here. So what I like to do, I'm going to show you on the left side here, just like to bring that foot straight up in front, and then what I'm going to do is kind of sit back and hinge forward at my hips, okay? Now, depending on how flexible you are, you may be able to reach for the toes and you may be able to actually bring your foot back. If you're not very flexible, this might be enough of a stretch, okay? But you can put that hand wherever you can to have some support there. And then again, you can hold for 3 to 5 minutes. If you tuck your chin down, you may even feel that into your back okay? Bringing your toes towards you is going to make it a more aggressive stretch, so you're going to feel that all the way down. Your hamstrings run from just below your knee to your sits bone, okay? So that's where you should be feeling it, on the back of your leg. You don't want to be pushing into and forcing any kind of stretch, so just a nice mild to medium stretch and hold for 3 to 5 minutes. To get the adductors, the inner thigh, what I like to do then is just open up my body. So since I'm stretching the left, I'm going to turn to my right. And then again, I'm going to sit kind of back. I'm already feeling that right here into my inner thigh. That affects your pelvis. The adductors attach right here into that bony structure, okay? So that can affect your hips, all right? So again, I'm just going to reach down wherever I can. You might even reach up and over if that feels okay. Again, another stretch on the side body on your opposite side, okay? So that's hamstring and hip adductors. The last thing I'm going to show you is a IT band stretch, so outer thigh. So I'm going to show you on the left side. I'm just going to stand on my left leg and really put the weight down through my left leg. I'm going to cross over my right leg just for balance. I'm going to kind of turn here so that I can hang on to the table. Again, a chair or a wall works out really well. So to stretch that left side, what I'm going to do is just put weight down through the left leg. I'm going to reach up and I'm going to reach over, okay? So if you have a wall here, you can really reach with that left hand and you can put your hand on the wall. Then you can adjust from there. So, you know, you might kind of sit back a little bit. You might push that hip, the left hip, straight out to the side or back, depending on where you're feeling some tightness, okay? So you may feel this even up into your side body, up into your arm, down the hip, okay? So again, hold for 3 to 5 minutes and let yourself lengthen out. All right, I'm going to leave you with the last couple quick tips. So again, if you do have a sedentary lifestyle, if you sit a lot for work, if you have a long commute, make sure that you're getting up frequently and moving around. Your body likes to move, okay? That helps to lubricate the joints. It helps to for you just to feel better and not get so stiff, okay? A great thing that I like to use is a small inflatable ball, and I like to use that into the front of my hips, maybe even into the glutes, the side, okay, any of those, basically anywhere that you're feeling pain or tenderness or even tightness. Those are good areas. Listen to your body. A great time to stretch is after you've warmed up. So taking a nice brisk walk, or if you do go to the gym or if you're out hiking, you know, a great time to do those stretches is after activity. And let's see, I'm just looking at my notes here. One last tip, I want you to make sure when you're standing that you stand with equal weight on both legs, okay? So if you, I'm going to show you kind of here from the side. So if you're standing and you're shifting one hip or the other, you're putting a lot of stress on one side, and you can really start to feel that into the hip joint, but also into the low back and the sacrum, okay? So standing with equal weight on both sides, and then also not locking the knees. When you lock the knees, what happens is it pushes your hips forward and it arches your back, okay? And that can lead to things like sciatica. Again, some people refer to their hip as back and through here, okay? So that real quick tip is something that you can change. Just start to pay attention to how you're standing in line, how you are doing dishes and those kinds of things, okay? All right, one last thing, sorry, is some strengthening. Again, you know, my first rule of thumb is trying to get into the fascial restrictions and releasing them, bringing balance back to the body, doing some stretches to keep that mobility and gain mobility, and then doing some stretches. I like to start with inner core strengthening, so transverse abdominis, multifidi muscles from the back, pelvic floor muscles from underneath, and using the diaphragm and proper breathing with all of that. Then I start adding on the glutes and the hamstrings and all of that good stuff. So core strengthening and doing it properly, a pelvic floor physical therapist can guide you through that. If you want some extra help, you know, reach out to me. I do have some good articles that I share that I use with my patients, but also can share as well if you are not local to me. So all right, if you have any questions, leave them below. I'll be happy to answer them the best that I can. Otherwise, I hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.